Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about something truly insidious and diabolical. And that's not hyperbolic. There's no hyperbole there. This is truly one of the most despicable things I've ever seen in politics and in recent American history. You have Democrats, you have media, you have wonderful, morally superior, highly educated, just fantastic liberal Democrats who, like Chuck Schumer, have stated, quote, you will pay a price, you won't know what hit you, those types of things. Chuck Schumer actually stated those things. The rhetoric, the behavior of these people, totally ignored by media. No condemnation, no judgment, no correlation between a man armed outside of Brett Kavanaugh's residence and their despicable conduct or basically criminal statements. You can't go ahead. I mean, you can't prove a crime, obviously, because we're still protected under the First Amendment with Chuck Schumer. But Trump, there hasn't been a Trump Republican that has said anything close to what Chuck Schumer has stated, or other Democrats. Schumer was very descriptive, specific, and he was concise, and, he definitely conveyed exactly what he wanted. Now, did he think or did he want a man to harm a Supreme Court justice? No, but under the hysterics and the apoplectic response to everything Trump says, one would think that Chuck Schumer and other Democrats would be very cautious when they spoke, in case a morally superior liberal Democrat might hear that and then try to commit an atrocity or a heinous crime. That's not the way they work, though. Democrats now have blocked a bill for added funding. They have no problem with $40 billion immediately to another country to help fight our mortal adversaries that President Obama wanted a reset with not long ago. But they don't want to fund added security for Supreme Court justices specifically because they want to intimidate these justices, the conservatives. They want to intimidate. They want to frighten. And they want to they want to push a certain viewpoint because the merits of their arguments are not enough. The political philosophy is not enough. They can't argue an opposing viewpoint. They cheated Bernie Sanders in 2016. Bernie Sanders, look, I support Trump, DeSantis. I want a better economy than what we have now, and a foreign policy that opposes never-ending military conflict. The Lincoln Project people embedded within the Democratic Party, the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld people, who vote now alongside Bernie Sanders. So that should tell you about the left. But these people want to simply frighten and intimidate, and while at the same time denying funding to protect Supreme Court justices. They don't want Supreme Court justices to have the luxury, the conservatives, to have the luxury of added security because they want them to feel and they want them to experience and they want them to see the repercussions, the retribution, and the revenge politically of any decision on Roe or anything else. They want to simply engage in retribution because you're not going to intimidate or alter the philosophy of a conservative Supreme Court justice. And that's the real problem. Democrats don't actually debate. They don't know how to. Wonderful, morally superior liberal Democrats don't really actually debate. And when they do, it's like this. It's very easily to refute any of their nonsense. then they fall back on their sensibilities. So they'll say something like, one YouTuber said, "Oh, that's just stupid." Like, they'll fall back on their sensibilities when they can't actually respond in a coherent manner. Anyway, hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen, right now. This is huge. And I'll read you, Fox News. McConnell slams House Democrats for blocking Supreme Court security bill. CNN, bill that would increase security for families of Supreme Court justices is stalled in the House. CNN, the most amazing, the most brilliant propagandists in modern U.S. history. It's stalled, don't you know? By the way, hit subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel below in the pinned comment and the Bitcoin Crash to 10,000 or lower channel. This is an important day, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to become a member of this channel, go to the homepage, join, become a member. If you want to support my work, my Patreon is below, ladies and gentlemen. And just share this everywhere and subscribe to all 3 channels. Let's get to 200,000 subs on this channel. We're almost there. CNN, bill that would increase security for families of Supreme Court justices is stalled in the House. It was stalled. It was just stalled. Democrats didn't block that bill to ensure that conservative Supreme Court justices would be intimidated and frightened by maniacs outside. Very peaceful, though. And you have groups who that actually put, one group in particular actually engaged in a crime. I mean, they actually did, but they're on the left, so Democrats, media, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, law enforcement look the other way. Could you imagine if a conservative group put liberal justices' addresses online? Could you imagine the uproar? And then you have a liberal group, putting Kavanaugh and other conservative justices their locations online, and that's okay. That's okay to the left. See, everything that they screeched and yelled, and everything, all the hysterics and all the apoplectic yelling at the top of their lungs, it was just because they didn't get what they want, and they said Trump is the embodiment of everything bad. But at the end of the day, he never said what Chuck Schumer said. He never told anyone, whether it was 2 years ago on that fateful day that I condemn, but I also condemn an entire summer of endless chaos and mayhem and curfews in major cities. Why were there curfews? Why was there $1 to $2 billion in property damage? 19 lives lost, according to Wikipedia. I agree, or I support the cause for the demonstrations that summer, but do you think that Democrats cared? Media was fiery but peaceful, mostly peaceful. With Trump, it's not mostly. If you want to use that logic, then it was mostly peaceful that day that Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger and Democrats are focused. It was mostly peaceful. I mean, this is pure propaganda. It's pure propaganda. It's unbelievable. It's like this insidious type of, oh my God, Trump said this. What about Chuck Schumer? Oh, well, that's whataboutism. Yes, you should always engage in whataboutism with Democrats, because what they say and do, because they have media and politics and law enforcement or top law enforcement officials like Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, top people in the government, there's a double standard in terms of what Democrats get away with and what Trump or Republicans get away with, which is not much, because you don't see these widespread investigations leveled at the left. You have the Durham Probe Special Counsel, which is actually doing better than people think, much better than people think, but it's not like they'll have an FBI director, saying, well, Trump didn't intentionally do something. The way they did with Madam Secretary, with top secret intelligence on private servers running outside the United States government. I mean, Trump could never get away with that. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, Eric Trump, Donald Trump Jr., Jared Kushner, they could never get away with a laptop full of incriminating emails. I mean, it would never happen. It would never happen in a million years. And if the reverse were true and conservatives were upset about liberal Supreme Court justices You know, and everything that happened to Kavanaugh I mean, they would never. It wouldn't. The outrage and the hysterical response would be different. And they cheated Bernie Sanders, which is something I mentioned prior to this, and they would have won. Look, they would have won, which is what I guess I lost track. They would have won in 2016 with Bernie Sanders. I say this is a supporter of Donald Trump, but they would have won in 2016. They cheated their own candidate, so they got three conservative Supreme Court justices. That's their fault. You cheat in the primary, and then you don't go with somebody who could, at that moment, like Trump was a much better president than Bernie Sanders could have ever have been, because the Lincoln Project would have controlled Bernie Sanders. I mean, he can't even, he's so petrified to even say that he was cheated. So that foreign policy, he'd have a militant foreign policy, he'd have the same type, he would be a Democrat just like President Obama in terms of destroying Libya and interventions, and Bernie Sanders would be no different than mashed potato brains Joe. Maybe more, obviously, left-leaning in terms of social Build Back Better would be more progressive, quote unquote. But in terms of foreign policy, in terms of major issues around the world, he wouldn't be very different. And so, anyway, Democrats say jump. Bernie Sanders says, how high do you want me to jump? But anyway, the point is, you have a situation where they cheated Bernie Sanders, and then they blamed the DNC emails that caused Debbie Wasserman Schultz and others to resign in disgrace on a plot by another government to inform the country that Bernie Sanders was cheated, thus forcing or influencing people to vote for Clinton's opposition. Gee, you think maybe they would vote for Clinton's opposition? Yeah, they would. They would. Obviously, they would. Because when you find out the corruption within the Democratic Party, something bizarre happens. The opposition actually gains votes. Isn't that interesting? Gosh, that's so crazy. Oh, maybe it's another plot by another country to let us know. It really isn't about Democratic corruption. It's what other countries want to do to our electorate. Anyway, hit subscribe. See, again, the whole thing comes, like, Democrats are so corrupt, and many of the electorate that, many of the morally superior, highly educated Democrats, they're so, like, naive and ignorant about the way politics works. They don't realize that they cheated their only candidate who could have possibly defeated Trump, and therefore they had, because of their own actions, had 3 conservative Supreme Court justices. Because you cheated Bernie Sanders, who would have defeated Trump at that moment in time. Now, like I said, looking back, Trump, way better president. Doha Agreement, Abraham Accords, First Step Act, hundreds of thousands of new manufacturing jobs, great economy, much better than what we see today, much better. Completely reversed U.S. foreign policy. He was opposed by the Lincoln Project people, the Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld people. That's what I want in any candidate. And so, so many other, only president to sign an executive order combating anti-Semitism on college campuses. Trump allocated more funding to historically black colleges and universities than any president ever, and made the funding permanent. He did great things. But Democrats focus on his words. His rhetoric. But they don't care about Chuck Schumer's rhetoric, especially when it correlates to exactly what took place yesterday. And there are organizations just trying their best to intimidate conservative justices. Like, these organizations didn't say anything when Bernie Sanders was cheated. So anyway, give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. Go to the Stock Market Crash channel and Bitcoin Crash channel below in the pinned comment, in the description section.